issue natin ngayon, medyo wide-ranging, ano? Although our guest today is represents the Partylist group, one Edukasyon. Anyway, tatanungin natin siya tungkol sa usapin ng martial law sa Mindanao. Isa pang issue na pinakaharap ng Kongreso ngayon, yung usapin sa ILOCOS Norte, no? Na aking opisyal ng pamahalaan ng Dalawiga ay naka-detain ng mga content charges. Tapos, yung governor mismo is being called to be a witness dun sa kaso. Anyway, later on we will talk about yung interest issues na dami-dami rin na. Pero simulan natin dun sa pagtingin ng ni Congressman Belaro dun sa issue ng martial law. Anyway, it's also the Deputy Assistant Majority Leader, so he's one of the leaders of the House. Sige, isa natin sa pagtingin nila sa martial law and recent Supreme Court decision. By the way, he's a lawyer and he graduated from the UP College of Law. Tapos naging dean na. Sige.
Magandang umaga po sa ating lahat, mga kasama sa media. Dati rin po kasi ako sa media, nagsusulat ako natin sa Manila Times. Matagal na yun. Good morning po, good morning. With respect to the martial law, that is one of the powers granted to the President by the Constitution. Because everything has to be seen from the legal basis. So I would say, not only in the capacity as a member of Congress, in the capacity as a representative of one of the Constitutional parties, but also as one of the assistant majority leaders of the House of Representatives, that there is legal basis for the declaration, for the extension of martial law. I believe that the 60-day period granted in the original proclamation will end on July 22. Is that correct? July 22. So, when that happens, it is up to the President because it is a discretion granted to him by the Constitution to declare martial law. In fact, it is one of the powers of the President to declare martial law in that context. So, yun po, yun ang. But of course, there is a procedure delineated by the Constitution in as to observe. And as a lawyer and as a former dean, my position here there is that we just have to observe the procedures outlined in the Constitution for the extension of martial law.
Which means that that's a Congress then?
Yes, sir, because I think the Constitution provides for the procedure, and the procedure, if I may summarize it, is that upon the initiative of the President of the Philippines can declare an extension of martial law. But that Congress will determine the period for such extension. So yun po ang nakalagay sa batas. But there are also remedies because even with that, any citizen could question the factual basis of the declaration of martial law with the Supreme Court. Yun po ang nakalagay sa batas, sa Constitution natin. We are bound by the Constitution, so we have to observe it.
Well, when you say Congress, how will you decide? Are you going to act as a one body or yung extension? How will you determine it?
What houses?
What houses pa? The Senate might want to limit it to just 15 days on the House. Paano kayo nag-limit na yun? How are you going to
session?
Both houses po, kasi the procedure for the proclamation would be the same as the procedure for the extension. Because it is the same subject matter.
Kaya akala ko the period, the Congress will decide. Ganun yung pagkakasabi.
Yung period. Hindi po. Ang nakalagay po sa Constitution is that for such period that the Congress will decide. Ibig sabihin, yung period for extension will be decided by Congress.
So, how are you going to decide?
How are you to decide?
Yeah, let's suppose the Senate wants it to be extended for just 15 days and the other one 60 days. Paano kayo? How are you going to magkakaroon?
That will never happen po because for that decision to be arrived at, there has to be a joint decision of Congress.
A joint session there.
Pero po doon sa procedure for the proclamation. And I think we have already settled that before. I think even with the proclamation, there was already an agreed procedure for meeting, for convening. In fact, I remember that we even drafted a rules for to follow in case of the Congress will be convened as a committee of.
But when it was proclaimed, you did not
Hindi nga po, sir. But then, there was already a plan. Had it been decided that mag-convene yung Congress, both houses, but we were prepared for it. So I guess we will be following the same procedure.
So pwede bang na yun? Parang separate resolutions na lang ng two chambers?
Ang nakalagay ko kasi is that the Congress will decide. So, in fact, hindi nga po ang controversial kasi in joint session, hindi nakalagay na separate session. So that's the source of the controversy before. Kasi in that way, if you would be deciding it that way, the Senate would be in a less position of power because
The numbers.
it would be outnumbered.
Yes.
But we cannot do anything about it. This is the letter of the law. That is the letter of the Constitution. So I guess there is no substantial reason for distinguishing the rules that we followed in the proclamation and extension because they are same subject matter anyway. That is my position.
Clarification. Would you please confirm whether per your sounding of the lower house that you are in favor of extension of the martial law?
Before I answer that question, let me clarify the premise of my answer.
Yes, sir.
Because as I've said, we have to start from the legal basis. Ang nakalagay po kasi sa Constitution is that upon initiative of the President, he, ibig sabihin, nasa kanya po yung discretion, he may extend martial law or the suspension of writ of habeas corpus. But then, nakalagay din po doon that but Congress may decide the period for such extension. So ultimately, ang pwedeng mangyari, 3 scenarios. Pwedeng i-disapprove ng Congress, pwede siyang i-shorten or i-lengthen. So these are 3 possibilities. In which case, Congress, because of that, will really have to convene. Because there is now an explicit requirement under the Constitution for a congressional determination of the validity of, not validity, of the wisdom of the presidential extension of martial law.
Can Congress extend the duration of the martial law more than what was already done? Let's say the president declared it for 60 days. Can Congress extend it for another 6, let's say 1 year or 6 months?
There is no mention of a period as to the period for extension. So because that is the case, then that will be up to the discretion of the body upon which the power is conferred upon, that is Congress.
What then will be the basis for extending?
The basis would be
That would also rely on what the president said. Kung ano sinabi ng
Consultate mo yung ang AFP or PN?
The way our Constitution was structured is that it is premised on a system of checks and balances. The premise here is that there is the executive which is acting independently, and we have Congress. Now, when the Constitution states that Congress will determine it, then the power of the discretion lies in Congress. So it will be up to Congress to decide whether to uphold the presidential extension or not. or to extend it or to shorten it. Yun pa ang beauty ng Constitution natin.
So, the President will no longer put yung period of time. Kayo magsasabi kung gaano kahaba.
I guess the President would state in his request, because of the initiative of the President, and he would be communicating to Congress either in person or in writing what period of time he would need to execute the programs that he would like to execute or to implement it during the extension of martial law.
Pero he would also consult the AFP and the PNP kung
Of course.
extend yung extension of martial law.
That is implied, sir, because he is the commander-in-chief. So before making that decision, I think he will be basing it from his people, from his staff, because
So, but
he
this
is
time-
responsible for it. Because let's remember that whatever decision the President will take and the Congress will take will be subjected to a review on the factual basis of the sufficiency of the martial law declaration.
I would suppose na less than 2 weeks na lang yung bago mag-end yung 60 days. So, ano na siguro no?
Para ano po yata, sir, it's July 22.
July
Of
20.
course, I heard about that, but of course, I cannot preempt unless there's a formal declaration to that effect.
Diba should the President signa yung mag-request na dapat yan ngayon kasi otherwise mapuputol, di ba? You cannot act on it because the Congress will open on the 20th, on the 22nd. You
I
cannot
understand.
immediately declare an extension. You can decide that immediately.
I believe, sir, the President still has 2 weeks to decide on that, and I cannot preempt the President.
Yeah,
Nothing
but
about
is
it.
it, will you advise him to do it now as considering that we have only a few days. So mapuputol no? If the President wants to extend it for another 60 days, then you cannot impose martial law during the 60 days unless Congress has approved it. Diba? So putol. Yung whatever military action is taking place in Mindanao, may hindi niya okay yung that means magiging walang martial lifted na during
After 6 days.
after the 60 days until Congress has decided that it should be extended. Diba?
I think this is a scenario. I understand, sir, the situation because there might be an interregnum that might occur. But to resolve that possibility, let us go back to the letter of the Constitution and be strict about it without no other any other confusing interpretation. If we stick to the letter of the Constitution, it says the President may extend. So therefore, let us remember that the original proclamation is valid. So therefore, we have a principle in law that everything which has been regularly proclaimed and done and validly done in according to law is presumed legal. So until then, that Congress has not convened, then that would enjoy the presumption of regularity. I think so that would address that short period of time in which Congress has yet to decide on the extension of the President on martial law. I'm assuming that would ever happen.
But don't you think that would be dangerous considering? Let's see, the Congress would make reject it. So nagkaroon tayo ng illegal martial. Kasi the martial declaration and the second phase will determine what Congress will say.
But in that event, sir, if I would also, with all due respect, if I would also throw back the question to you, sir, what would Congress act upon? There is no presidential initiative yet on such extension. Of course, we cannot preempt the decision of the President in extending it because we have nothing to act upon.
Oh, may declaration already extended.
But of course, the procedure outlined in the Constitution, sir, for example, is this: the President, it's upon the initiative of the President, and it has reference to a previous paragraph. It states that either in person or in writing. That means either the President appears before Congress in person or in writing. In which case, that has yet to happen. That is why, at this point in time, it would be premature for us to vote on it because we have nothing to act upon yet.
Correct. Kaya yun na yung danger. Kasi pagka sa 23, nag-declare siya ng extension sa 23, and you're not yet ready to annul it. So, tuloy-tuloy ang martial law, no? Tama?
I think,
Tuloy ang martial law, pero, paano yung kung, let's say, gusto na kayong presidente, biglang matalo siya sa batuan. So, nagkaroon ng illegal martial law.
I also thought about that possibility, sir, because you know in constitutional drafting we cannot really place there all the possibilities. Otherwise, the constitutional so prolix and so verbose. But you know, in constitutional interpretation, always have to be governed by common sense. You know, that way, I think there's a paragraph there that within 48 hours, upon the declaration or the proclamation, Congress has to convene. So that is a duty lodged upon Congress to convene shortly, and that there's a period given therein, 48 hours. Now, in that short interregnum, in which you said that there was no approval yet of the extension, then I would say that in that case, we should accord it, the original proclamation, the presumption of regularity. Because that is the way to go. Otherwise, I would agree with you that it really lead to chaos and discontinuance of public services, if that's the case. It's basic in constitutional interpretation, even in interpretation of laws, that we have to interpret laws in a manner in which it do not result to absurdity. Because if we interpret it, the provision strictly and hair splitting in that manner, then it would really result to chaos. And that is not ever intended in a system of laws like that.
Between Drilon and Panelo, with whom are you siding?
I am not siding with, although sir, I have to disclose that I'm one of the assistant majority leaders. But my position is just based on my interpretation of the Constitution. Because I believe that we have to stick to the letter of the Constitution. And the position that he has propounded is pointing to a legal basis for the position he has articulated.
No, between them, who's right?
It's not a question of right. It's a question of what I think is a reading of the Constitution.
So what is the right reading of the Constitution?
That is already
Because
propounded.
Panelo says the President can issue an extension proclamation. Drilon says the extension is dependent on the approval of the Congress. So who between them is right?
I think I have confused the two because actually there should be really no there is no confusion if you just understand what they're saying. Can you kind of repeat the first statement by Panelo, sir?
Panelo says if the president can issue another proclamation.
Of course.
That's what he said.
Let me first address your first statement of yours. With respect to the Panelo statement, that is premised on the fact that the president is granted the martial law powers under the Constitution. So he can proclaim or he can extend. Then, sir, what is that statement?
Drilon says that will be going against a 60-day period limitation.
That is also correct, sir, because it also provides with the Constitution. Under the language of the Constitution, Congress may determine the period of such extension. So I think there's no conflict about it.
There's a conflict.
What is the conflict, sir? But perhaps I may be able to aid to interpret it further for
The
you.
conflict is Panelo's initiative is the president can extend the 60-day period without Congress's approval.
That is not correct. That is not correct. And I think probably Panelo, who is also a lawyer, I think may have been misquoted because if you go to the letter of the Constitution, that is not correct. The Constitution provides for a specific procedure by which the proclamation or extension of martial law will be implemented.
Kong, is it possible that given the limited time for Congress to discuss about the extension, is it possible that the President, before the 22nd, lift martial law and after a day, declare another martial law?
Theoretically, sir, that is possible. Theoretically, that is possible. But actually, that is not grounded by reality because we have to realize that there is the president enjoys huge popularity nowadays. In fact, members of both houses have alleged allegiance to the ruling party. So I think that is not that is possible. That is possible.
That's possible.
Parang, di ba may listahan pa ang AFP na 300 or so people na may warrant of arrest? Ilan lang yata ang nahuli dito eh. Mga magulang ng mga magulang lang, a few others. So, parang it would seem na yung extension ng martial law is already without that conclusion.
I have heard of that information, but of course, as I told you, sir, I cannot give it the dignity of affirmation because I still have to receive the report, and it's quite premature for Congress to decide as a whole.
Okay.
Sir, when you say extension, you're referring only to the period of time. Right?
Extension.
So, in case the president, something happens and the rebellion gets out of hand when it comes to Social Laws, Visayas, can that be considered as, can the president declare martial law also in the Visayas?
You always can.
Taking into consideration his right, his authority to declare to extend. I mean, that would be another declaration.
There is no prohibition, sir, in the Constitution for that. There being no prohibition, he can do it. And in that case, if that is the case, the way to go is for the president, here, I mean speaking as legal practitioner, we can treat as an original proclamation rather than extension.
Original.
Yes, because the original proclamation has a self-expiring period of 30 days. So if it is expired and you would like to place any other part of the country not included in the original proclamation, then that is a new proclamation
So
altogether.
how would Mindanao be treated? Extension sa Mindanao, like original do sa Visayas.
The treatment there, the logical treatment there would be a new proclamation of martial law altogether.
Yes.
Because the original proclamation has already been nullified because it self-expired.
And that means it
Yes.
can be given another extension.
It can no longer be extended, but rather this could be treated as a new proclamation.
A new proclamation.
Because there is no prohibition in the Constitution. And because we are presenting here that martial law is a power granted to the president.
If you are on the other side, what will be the constitutional issue that can be raised on this original, on declaring another original?
The remedies there, sir, would be that I think
What I'm asking kasi, ano ngayon naman ibig? Yun ako, if you will look at it, ano ba ito, ano naman sa kaliwa, sa positions, ano yun, what constitutional issues can they raise against another declaration to be considered?
I believe that because under the Constitution, sir, any citizen could question the factual sufficiency, the factual basis of the martial law declaration. I guess that could be raised again because under our concept of checks and balances, that is the remedy provided for by law, that any citizen could question the proclamation of martial law, raising probably perhaps the same grounds or new developments altogether.
For the interest of the great majority.
Yes, sir.
Kung dahil pinag-uusapan na natin yung constitutional challenge, kasi Lagman and the so-called participant, makulitis sa Senate, have changed their mind, so instead of throwing in the towel, they will now again file a motion for reconsideration. Ano chance na? What's the chance that the Supreme Court might change its mind also?
The Supreme Court is the law of the land. So it is the final arbiter of any ruling. Now, the Supreme Court, I think, has already ruled 11-3-1. 11 is for the majority, 3 is for partly dissenting, partly affirming, and 1 for with a lone dissent. I guess that already now forms the law of the case. So, in another situation raising the same factual scenario or factual view, I guess it is very reasonable or logical to assume that the Supreme Court would also follow their pronouncements in the previous martial law case. It looks like in law, sir, we have a principle like law of the case. So this now provides, since I think this is decided by the court and back, so this now proves a precedent. It's not just obiter dictum, but it's already a ruling of the High Court, convened and bank. So that does provide a precedent for a subsequent challenge that would be raising the same grounds. The only difference there would be perhaps a question, the factual basis, which is that some facts which were available when the first case was filed was not there. And I think that would be the court is a little bit tight. The court has limited parameters to move because it was already tied by its own previous ruling on the matter.
The decision in the Supreme Court came out on Thursday, I think, or Wednesday. But on Friday, I'm very sure of that, because in the first page or front page of Inquirer, about the president saying, I don't deal with terrorists, okay? Referring to the Maute group, who apparently had given some message to the president that they want to deal with him. Take note that in the case of the potential of Yonen, he said he classified them as terrorists, not rebels. And then here comes the president 2 days after the decision, coming with a statement, I do not deal with terrorists. What's your take on that? Remember that there's still a motion for reconsideration.
First of all, the opinion of Justice Leon is the dissent. So it's
That's
only
right.
one.
That's right. So it's a
So if ever it will be given any weight, it's the weight of a dissenting opinion, which is never followed.
But I'm looking at the
in a rule of law.
impact of the president's statement, which is front page in Inquirer. I don't deal with terrorists. It's now the president labeling them as terrorists, not rebels.
Yes. Let me just finish one here on my original explanation. So that being the case, if that is just a dissent, that is never followed, except if that is reconsidered. That position is reconsidered and becomes the majority, perhaps in another case in the future, it becomes the majority, then it will be given any legal weight. Now, with respect to the declaration of the president that these are terrorists, we cannot conclude based on that mere assumption. Perhaps the president is saying it in a layman connotation without any ascription to the legal meaning, because you have to consider, Panero, that of course, I think you would agree with me that in law, rebellion is rebellion. It has a distinct meaning. And violence, lawless violence is different. But here, the president is speaking to the general public. So we cannot just suppose that perhaps the president is referring to terrorism in the legal parlance.
So, siguro hindi naman natin masasinatin yung dito, no? Let's go to let's leave that issue for a while and tackle yung issue ng contempt of court against yung ILOCOS 6. Ano yung legal precepts na legal
Is he
principles?
a member, are you a member, sir, of the committee? Of the member?
I am assistant majority leader, sir. With respect to the ILOCOS 6 controversy, many positions have been ventilated on it. But with begging your kind indulgence, we can already settle the issue by just referring to the rule of law. As I've said before, here there should be no constitutional crisis. There will not be one. And I reiterate, there need not be a constitutional crisis, but here we just have a crisis of interpretation. Why is that? Why am I saying this, sir? That there need not be a constitutional crisis, but only a crisis of interpretation. Because if we adhere by the rule of law, things could be settled already without any confusion. In a rule of law situation, we are governed by the hierarchy of laws. When you saw hierarchy, the Constitution is primordial. With other laws, BP 22, reorganizing it, the rules of court stating the rules on habeas corpus or sexual which are inferior to the Constitution. Now, ito po sa Constitution, we have to remember that there are two concepts. Nandiyan po kayo kasi tinuturo ko ito sa Constitutional Law, doon sa klasiko, no? May dalawang konsepto po sa Constitution na dapat natin maalala with respect to the drafting of the 1987 Constitution. First is the concept of separation of powers, and the other one on checks and balances. Doon po sa separation of powers. When you say separation of powers, it really means what it is. It is separate and it's a power. It cannot be otherwise. Otherwise, it is not a power, it is not separate. And the power of investigation is granted to Congress in its plenary power. And attendant to it is the power of contempt. Settle naman po sa batas kung ano duration of power of contempt na yun, hanggang hindi ginagawa yung hinihingi ng Kongreso. It is, the limitation is when Congress in session, so matatapos yung kanilang pagkakulong until Congress in session unless they give what Congress gives. Settled po yun. The other concept is checks and balance. You know, kung konsepto sa checks and balance, ang ginutumbo ko dito ay power of judicial review. Yung pong power of judicial review ng Supreme Court. Now, yung judicial review naman po, power, also means what it is. What it states. It is review. Ibig sabihin ng review, hindi siya active. Because to be active, that would be judicial legislation. It is a passive power. That means the Supreme Court can only exercise the power of judicial review when a proper case is presented before it. And a proper case at the right court with the proper parties. Dito po, ang nangyayari, they file a case with the Court of Appeals, which is only a statutory court created by Congress. You see the absurdity? If we just stick po doon sa the beauty of how the 1987 Constitution is framed, there is no confusion. What the ILOCOS could do is to file a case before the Supreme Court via perhaps habeas corpus, pwede rin naman Supreme Court, or a petition for certiorari, grave abuse of discretion. They can do that. Why aren't they doing it? Why stuck with the Court of Appeals? And remember, the Supreme Court only decides a case very vis nota. When it's right for adjudication, wala na akong kaso nakarating sa Supreme Court eh. What would the Supreme Court decide upon? Sino po ngayon ang diba? If we just abide by the rule of law, this confusion ever happen. Remember po, it's not about personalities. Ang tinakatakot lang po namin dito, this might set a precedent. Because otherwise, if we allow this thing to happen, any Court of Appeals justice, any trial court could tell Congress what to do. And that would dilute the powers of Congress to conduct investigation to enforce its power of contempt. That is never intended by the 1987 Constitution. Di po ba?
So that means, kasi it all started the what case issued so most of them. It's not even the speaker, it's the sergeant at arms. He has the sergeant at arms to tell the court why the 600 detained. But the problem is that the sergeant at arms didn't even bother to answer. He didn't even to explain his position. And that's one of the reasons why the CA issued the contempt show cause order naman. Ang dami doon, bakit hindi mo lang? Why did considering that you have to respect also kahit na court of appeals, that's the court issue. Why didn't he even bother to answer the allegations of pwede naman sabihin niya na, hindi ko sasagutin yan because of the reason he cited na.
Yung ano po,
Hindi ba, parang isn't that a mark of arrogance kasi hindi ka napakita man lang no?
yung ano po
At
yata,
least, these are formal pleadings and these are formal cases pa.
pasensya po, but I have to factor in this. I attended the hearing and we summoned representatives from the Solicitor General's office and other parties concerned. And what appears of record is that upon sending the motion, the Sergeant at the Valley, because it is habeas corpus case. So, habeas corpus case po, ang respondent po dito is ang Congress. But the House Sergeant at Arms, ito po ay pinal nung Ilocos 6 Pinan against Sergeant Kapihan. That is the case po. Habeas corpus is not against Congress. Now, upon receiving it, that was the time when we're having our Northern Luzon trip. And so, Sergeant Kapihan, through the Solicitor General, filed a manifestation before the Court of Appeals. That is a record po. Nakalagay stating that we are here on the Northern Luzon trip, and then yun ang nangyari. So that was the first, I think, then. And after that, they already submitted a pleading citing, among others, that the Court of Appeals has no jurisdiction over the matter.
The Solicitor General.
Yes, through the Solicitor General, it's an ad cautelam pleading. Complying with the court. That is why I think there's this part, when you're kind of sir, there's no basis for that assertion because there was already compliance, substantial compliance with the order of the Court of Appeals. Because by the Solicitor General, representing the Sergeant at Arms, has already complied with the show cause order by making that position known to them. And this is very important. In that ad cautelam pleading, it was cited that the position of Congress is that in this habeas corpus case, the Court of Appeals has no jurisdiction over the case. In short, ang ibig po sabihin nun sa batas, kung wala kang jurisdiction, all the proceedings happening in your court is void. That was already ventilated. So that, if upon having been apprised of the position of the other party, that you, as a court, is conducting these proceedings without jurisdiction, then that should already send signals for you that everything else that you would do should be something that is your own lookout, including the sending of show cause orders, including the entertaining of other motions from the counsel of the supposed to be the persons who filed the habeas corpus case.
Hindi ko na maintindihan. By Congress should be represented by the Solicitor General. The Solicitor General also represents the executive, right?
Yes, sir.
What these two are go to work on an issue about the certain on an issue of legislation. Who will the Solicitor General represent?
Yung ano po kasi under the administrative code, it is the Solicitor General which is appointed as lawyer of the government. And of course, Congress is still part of the government. So all government issues, all government agencies, yun po yung Solicitor General nag-represent, except of course we have OGCC in certain matters, yung Office of Government Corporate Counsel, na may specific, ano naman sila doon, specific topics na pwede represent. But in this case, because it's in general terms, so the Office of the Solicitor General is really the office that would be representing Congress.
Congressman, what is it that you really want from the ILOCOS 6?
Yung sinabi ko pong position is only based on academic treatment. Kasi sabi ko, this need not be a battle of personalities.
Yes, sir.
But it can just be resolved by an unbiased, logical, and commonsensical interpretation of the Constitution. Sabi yung Twitter ko nga po, sabi ko doon, common sense is the best guide for interpreting the Constitution. Now, ito pong sinabi ko kanina, ulitin ko lang na, under the Constitution, each branch of government are granted powers, including how do you conduct judicial review. Ang ulitin ko lang po doon, yung judicial review na ito, ang gusto kasi mangyari ng mga witnesses na nakakulong, gusto nilang mag-judicial review ang kanilang kaso. But the court is not proper. Dapat Supreme Court. The case is not even proper. Diba? They would like us to file before any court a case. Why would we do that? We don't have a cause of action. Hindi naman kami aggrieved party. Diba? So, in short, the power of judicial review envisions a certain procedure by which we, as being living in a democracy, should abide by. Proper court, proper case, proper time. Yun po, manong ang gusto kong sabihin. If you just go by the rule of law, then there is no confusion. But perhaps, of course, the counsel of the other party think that they would get a better recourse in the Court of Appeals. That is why they brought it there. Well, of course, I cannot second guess their strategy. But what I'm saying, theoretically, from an academic standpoint, We should just abide by the rule of law, and there is no crisis of, there's going to be no constitutional crisis, but only crisis of interpretation.
Because, sige po.
Sir, kung matuloy ho yung possible detention ni Governor Marcos, even if pansamantala lang, would you say that there's a kind of poetic justice involved? What I'm saying is that Congress would have succeeded in detaining a member of the Marcos family where the PCGG failed to do the last 30 years. At least makita kong na-imprison o ma-detain ang isang membro ng pamilya Marcos.
Yes, sir. Yung Congress po is composed by 295 persons. And each Congress is different from another. So, ang huli po dyan is that
Mike Magdal, sir.
Sir, naka-off yata may
So I cannot preempt the judgment of the majority because you have not yet decided on it. We have not even gathered collectively on that. But if you were referring to the previous Congress, perhaps history would be better testimony. What you are saying right now is really supported by the records.
Sir, sabi kasi ng si Pimentel and Eugene Rivera and the press conference the other day. Ang sabi nila, they want the issue to be diretso na it's not, they are trying to correct the controversy by claiming that there's nothing political about this, that it's not that the reason for the detention of the ILOCOS 6 or the threat to arrest Ivy is due to local politics. Para in order to disabuse the minds of the people, that is not local politics. So, isn't it correct now to say that Palinas, of course, very much involved, meron sila yata political locally. Di ba, dapat Palinas should now inhibit himself from participating in the hearings. Kasi even the judges, di ba, kung once na magkaroon ng kahit na issue, umaayaw, pinaayaw, that's personal on the spot.
Inhibit.
Umaayaw sila.
Inhibit.
Di ba, would it be correct now for your majority kayo yung assistant to advise sa Palinas?
They want to make a big issue.
So, para maging malinis ito, hindi na siya mag-participate considering napapansin every time there's a hearing with Palinas who conducts the direct questioning sa cross-examination. You look at the hearings as a court. Parang siya yung talagang malaki ng goal. So, di ba dapat ka, no? Kasi ang gusto ng House, o wala yung agam-agam na politika ito.
Wala gagampi siya.
Yun po, yung sinabi po niya Congressman Rivera at ng Committee on House, Committee on Government, about corruption. I affirm that because this controversy indeed started because of an investigation conducted by the Committee on Accountability in Government. Yes. So, that being the case, it was really intended to be an inquiry in aid of legislation. So, I think they have promoted a position that this is really not about personalities, but about the fight against corruption. Now, if we limit it that way, tama naman po talaga yun eh. Wala namang sama din because if really an anomaly occurred, then we should uncover it. Kasi trabaho po yun ng Kongreso na kung talagang nawawala yung 65.5 million pesos, somebody really has to answer for it and it has to be accountable to the Philippine people. And that should be uncompromised. That there should be no compromise on that.
Yes.
That the truth should come out.
I agree, but it is tainted by local politics, na meron daw ng politics dito. Siyempre, hindi mo mawawala yun. Now, if you believe that the Parinas has been doing okay, tama naman siya, no? Hinahanap niya. But hindi pa rin niya kaya yun without Parinas. Hindi pa, can't he rely on his assistant majority leader and the other and other members of the majority to do the job for him. Parang kayo na mag-imbestiga, kayo na tumingin mahigit sa walang bahid po dito.
Well, sir, I cannot speak for our majority leader
Yeah, how about-
on this because, as you said, that there is allegation there of controversy at the local level of politics in ILOCOS. But what I'm saying here is that let us stick to the original purpose of the investigation, in which I just stated that this is really an inquiry legislation about the corruption of the 66.5 million tobacco fund. And in any event, regardless of the personalities, regardless of whether who is right or wrong, I think the public needs to know what really happened with respect to that fund. Now, with respect to the participation of majority leader, with respect to this investigation, I think his participation is that he filed it himself.
Yeah.
Now, under the rules of Congress, if you file it, of course you have to fight for it. Because this is just, Congress is not in any way rendering a judgment on the matter. It is just conducting an investigation.
There are three of them, three authors. This includes one is, I think, si Bunto.
Personally, sir, I don't see anything wrong about it, but democracy in play. Because here, we are legislators of the people, elected by your districts, who really have to represent the concerns of our district. Now, this concern is really about Ilocos region. And our majority leader is the representative in that province who is affected, one of those affected provinces. So he has every right to file an investigation himself and to defend it before the committee hearing. Ang ano ko po dito, analysis is that let us not confuse judicial from legislative. Because here we are not rendering any judgment. We are just conducting an inquiry in aid of legislation. Di po ba? We are not rendering any judgment. Yun pong isa pang confusion doon, bakit diniting yung mga tao. Ito naman po ay in relation to the contempt powers. Because nakalagay po doon, under our rules, if a witness refuses to testify, then that is really the logical result. He would be detained. Because in the power to conduct investigation, kasunod po doon yung power of contempt and to detain. Kasama po yun doon sa rules. So, I don't see anything wrong about that. Sabi ko nga po, if we just rise above this level of analysis, makita po natin the beauty that there need not be. And in fact, it is just democracy in play. Let the truth come out from all these wranglings. Because that is really what is intended to be.
What kind of by
Naturas ng mga Ilocano. Yun nalilito kami dahil sa mga Marcoses at saka Partylist. Talagang kung araw pa magkaligit yung mga yan. Pero anyway, bakit kung totoong ang investigation in aid of legislation, bakit naka-confine lang sa Ilocos Norte? Sabi sa Ilocos Norte, mas malaki pera nga doon sa tabako yan. Oo, sa Ilocos Norte, mas malaki.
Nakalusot na.
Oo.
Nakalusot na, may erap, di ba nakalusot
Hindi na papansin yung Ilocos Sur. Mas bakit ba? Pero naman sa Ilocos Sur. Bakit hindi naman yung Ilocos Sur? Or La Union, or Guadalajara, or Abra. Bakit nakakulpay lang sa Ilocos Sur? At ang personalities lang sa Marinas at mga Marcoses.
I cannot preempt, but I cannot also validate that because that is an allegation. Of course, if there is a complete file before the committee or in Congress, then we will act accordingly. But for now, I cannot sanction it. I cannot take that word for that as an truth because we still have to prove that as a reality. In fact, if ever there will be another investigation, then Congress would be duty bound to act on that investigation filed in those areas that you mentioned.
Okay, let's leave that for a while, and let's go to one other guest. We'll open the floor later on. Pero at this point, let's ask RJ Javellana of the United Federation of Consumers and Commuters. Tungkol sa issue na sa SRP, suggested within pricing. Sige.
Magandang umaga po. Habang papalapit na po yung ikalawang State of the Nation address ng ating Pangulo, ay haharap siya para magulat dun sa kalagayan ng buong bansa. Hindi lang po sa usaping politika, hindi lang po sa usaping seguridad, o hindi dapat na mapatampok din yung usapin ng kabuhayan ng bawat Pilipino. Na sa pananaw po ng United Filipino Consumers and Commuters, ay naharap po ang ating mga consumers o publiko sa maraming issue. Isa na po rito yung panukala na nais ni Secretary Lopez ng Department of Trade and Industry na tanggalin po yung tinatawag na standard retail price o i-deregulate po ito. At kahapon po yung deadline ng pagsasubmit ng reaksyon ng lahat po ng mga stakeholders. At ang inyong lingkod po ay nagpa-receive po kami ng kopya kahapon sa Department of Trade and Industry. Sa aming pananaw dito, ito po ay malaking kontradiksyon doon sa sinasabi ng ating konstitusyon at mismo po doon sa Republic Act 7394 ng Consumer Act of the Philippines na kung saan obligasyon ng ating pamahalaan na tignan po at bantayan itong mga sistema ng pagdinegosyo para may pagtanggol po yung ating mga consumers. Kaya pinahatid po namin yung aming pagtutol dito po sa department order na pilit po nilang gustong gawin o ihabol ngayong July. Siguro isa yan sa gusto nilang ihabol dun sa speech ng ating presidente. At palagay ko po, ang pagtatanggal po ng SRPS sa ating mga basic commodities ay may malaking problema po ito. Bakit po hindi lang po SRP ang kinakaharap nating problema sa ngayon? Nariyan din po yung pagtatanggal ng Philippine Port Authority o pagtataas ng Philippine Port Authority dito po sa Manila North Harbor na 24%. Na sa aming tingin, ito ay magti-trigger din po ng karagdagang pagtaas ng mga presyo, paggalaw ng presyo. Ang Batangas Port po ay kumakatok na rin po sa PPA ng additional 25% na karagdagan. Bukod po riyan, kinakaharap din po ng mga consumers yung issue. Ito po ay alam naman ng publiko ito, yung excise tax sa petrolyo na tinutulak ng Department of Finance na 3 pesos, 2 pesos, and 1 peso. Pag ito po'y natuloy, again, ito ay magja-jack up na naman sa presyo ng ating mga bilihin. At kasabay po niyan, ay meron pong dalawang malaking issue. Ito po yung tubig at kuryente. Ang Maynilad at Manila Water po ay nag-submit na po sa Manila Water sa MWSS. Ng karagdagang 9.69 para sa 2018. So, 9.69 yung nais nilang idagdag sa basic charges na kung saan ngayon po ay meron tayong 34.51 for Maynilad customers. Aabot po ito, ibig sabihin ng 44.20 sa 2018 ng panibagong pagtaas. Ano pa po yung kinakaharap ng mga Manila Water na consumers natin? Gusto po ni Manila Water o yung kumpanya ng mga Ayala na magdagdag ng 8 pesos and 30 centavos dito po sa basic charges ngayon na 24.80 which is magiging 32.10. So ito po yung ilang mga concerns na kinakaharap ng ating mga consumers na sabay-sabay at dinagdagan pa po ng itong sa issue ng MERALCO, yung mainit na issue po dun sa midnight contracts na kung saan ay pinayagan po ng ilang commissioners ng Energy Regulatory Commission na extend po yung competitive selection process na kung saan sa aming palagay ay nagkaroon na naman po ng oportunidad itong mga distribution utilities at power companies nung ginagawa po yung competitive selection process document sa ilalim po ng Department of Energy. 1 taon po nilang inupuan yan. Kaya nung umakyat po ito sa Energy Regulatory Commission, dahil ito mag-implement, siya magre-regulate, in-extend naman po ito ng 6 na buwan. At dahil po doon, nagkaroon ng oportunidad si MERALCO na kausapin yung kanyang mga subsidiary companies na pumasok doon sa extension at nung last day po ng extension date, imagine po, 8 p.m., yung iba 11 p.m. pa po. At ito ay araw ng Sabado, wala pong gobyerno. hanggang alas 5 lang po yung yung transaction sa gobyerno, pero inalaw ng ERC na i-submit yung 7 PSA agreements na nagkakahalaga po ito ng 261 billion pesos na ipapasa sa atin sa loob ng 20 taon. So ibig sabihin ay kahit meron pong mas mura na kuryente na maaaring bilhin si MERALCO sa mga ibang mga kumpanya, ay hindi na po maaari sapagkat ito itinali na ng MERALCO dun sa kanyang mga subsidiary companies. Every year, ito po ay 12.4 billion na siguradong kita ng 7 kumpanya na MERALCO rin po ang nagmamay-ari. Sa kabuuan po niyan, ito po ay 4,500 megawatts. Ang nakuha ng MERALCO doon sa supply na kailangan niya ay 3,551. So, ibig sabihin, sobra po sa 50%, monopolyado na ni MERALCO yung supply niya, bawal po yun. At panghuling punto, ang kontrata po ni MERALCO ay matatapos po sa loob ng 11 taon. Pero sa agreement na ibinigay ng ERC, 20 taon. Maglalap siya ng in 11 years, pero ang contract niya ay 20 taon para supplyan siya. So, marami pong mga question dito, no? Kaya hinihingi po natin ang tulong ng ating mga kongresista na tingnan din po itong mga pangunahing issue ng ating mga consumers, ang standard retail price, ito pong PPA na nagdagdag na po ng lahat po ito ay ipapasa lamang sa ating mga consumers. Magandang umaga at maraming salamat po.
Clarify ko lang, ano yung nagko-fall under prime commodities na tatanggalan ng suggested retail price?
Lahat po ng basic commodities, lahat po yan. Ano po, ganito po yung sa bagong ruling, yung dun sa draft order. Sa section 6, sinasabi po ng DTI na yung mga manufacturer ay pwede na siya magbenta. Ano po, sa loob ng 30 araw, kung hindi po mag-react si DTI, ibig sabihin, okay na po yun. Hindi po katulad dati, yung manufacturer magsasabit muna po ng kanilang standard retail price at yun ay aaprubahan ng DTI. Dito po hindi na. So, paano po, kung ngayon po ay nangyayari na po yung pagsasamantala na ano po, hindi po ma-monitor ng DTI, di lalo na po kung i-deregulate nila. Kawawa po yung may sa 65 million Filipinos natin na nabubuhay lamang sa kakarampot na 125 pesos, ito ay bababa pa. Kaya sa aming palagay, ang bigas, ang asukal, ano po, maraming bagay ng mga basic commodities,
magtataasan.
Ano pa po, saan pa po tayo pupunta? So, role po ng gobyerno na ipagtanggol at tayong proteksyonan, tayong mga consumers, pero kabaligtaran ng ginagawa ng mga ibang cabinet secretaries ng ating presidente. Kaya harap ang ating presidente ngayong SONA sa mga ibang usapin, pero sa totoo naman, todo-todo yung atake ng mga oligarko sa mga ordinaryong mga mamamayan. Ito po yung realidad ng buhay ngayon na sinasabing the change is coming. May nagbago nga ho. Ito nga po yung mga ilang polisiya na mas tingin namin at mas dapat tignan ng ating mga mambabatas, ng ating mga nasa executive, lalo na ating presidente. Ito po yung isang forma ng terorismo araw-araw, kay nanay, kay ate, kay kuya. Hindi lang yung gera ng marami. Ito po yung araw-araw. Pag umuwi kayo ng bahay, kakamot kayo ng ulo, magkano ang babayad nyo sa elektrisidad. May pambayad pa kayo ng tubig, may pamalengke pa kayo. So ito po yung realidad ng buhay natin ngayon. Salamat po.
Hindi ba yung coverage ng prime commodities, pati yung mga building materials, saka
Lahat po yan.
simento?
Lahat po yan.
Sali?
Opo, lahat po. So ito po ay sabi ko nga po, nung inilabas nila nung Marso ito, no, kay Secretary Ramon Lopez, pasensya na po sa paggamit ng termo na ito. Ito po yung trabaho naman. Ayaw nilang magtrabaho. Kasi yun po yung function ng DTI, magbigay ng protection sa atin ngayon kung i-deregulate nila yung itong ano na ito, itong usapin na ito, teka muna. Para na tayong pinakain ito sa buhaya. Ano po? Yung mga malalaking oligarkiya na nagnenegosyo sa mga ganitong klase ng produkto, papatayin din niya po yung mga maliliit na mga lokal na negosyanteng Pilipino. Paano makikipag-compete yung maliit dun sa malaki? So again, yan ang mangyayari sa atin in the future. Ano po?
Mapalad ka, katabi mo si Congressman Belaro. Eh napakalaki ang involved ng pera rito, billions, multi-billions. Ay mantalang yung problema sa ILOCOS 6 million. Kaya kung si Congressman Belaro, I think may kakampi ka na sa tabi mo dahil it involved in very big amounts of money of the people.
Okay, thank you. Siguro, we're running out of time. Siguro, we'll ask you for your closing statements.
May comment na lang siya, si Congressman Belaro kasi sa MERALCO yung sinasabi niya na 11 years. Ay, prangkisa yung sinasabi niya siguro.
Yung prangkisa po ni Meralco ay maglalapse in 11 years.
Kontrata.
Hindi po. Yung kontrata po binabanggit ko, yun po yung sa competitive selection process na 20 taon. Doon sa 7 kumpanya, Meralco rin po ang mga...
Kasi na 20 years lang yung 20 years yung kontrata na papasok, ano hanggang 11 years lang ng salita, paano mangyayari? Ayun dapat gawin ng Kongreso.
Hindi ko ako privy dun sa facts dun sa Meralco case. Pero if there is a franchise and general principles,
Yes.
the franchise provides for the term by which it is granted. Now, within the parameters of the franchise, may nakalagay po din mga powers na pwedeng gawin to exploit a certain area, territory, to grant this much. Yun pang susundin. Ngayon, when it's about to end, it will have to undergo congressional hearing. It will have to go to Congress again for its renewal. So yun pa ang procedure.
Pero ang question is, the MERALCO is entering into contract that will bind it for 20 years.
Beyond the
20 years. But it's live.
It's only 11 years.
It's only 11 years.
Theoretically, sir, if there's a contract in which wala siyang kapangyarihan na to enter, that would be ultra vires. And the other party could have resorts in law
Ultra Vires Act yan.
to file a case for that.
These parties are its own companies, subsidiaries. So the other party might be the government or the
Then it's one thing, sir, that we can also take into account. But theoretically, what I'm saying is that if you deal with something in which you have no power on, then that will ultra vires. You have no power to act on that matter. Theoretically.
Okay. Wala na anak? Wala kang dadagdag, Ajay?
Yun nga po, bilang panghuli po, yun po yung nakapagtataka. Bakit pinayagan ng mga commissioners itong kontrata na ito, late na, in-extended pa nila, ang halaga nga po nito ay 261 billion pesos na siguradong income ni Meralco sa loob ng 20 taon. Tinakin ka. Kasi po yung CSP, kinakailangan dumaan siya sa competitive bidding. Isusubasta yung pinakamurang kuryente. Isang example po, sa Mindanao, si San Miguel nagbenta ng 3 piso. Ang binili ni Meralco, 3 pesos and 80 centavos. Bakit hindi yung 3 pesos? Nakuha niyo po, kasi nga po, nakikipag-usap siya dun sa sarili niya, sa sarili niyang kumpanya. So, dapat meron pong managot sa ERC rito. Hindi po sapat na isa lamang po ang na-suspend. Dun sa ERC, dapat po lahat po yung mga yan. Malaki ang pananagutan at kasalanan ng mga taong ito. Dinilay na nila yung CSP. Ngayon po, dinilay din nila yung refund na 6.9 billion pesos na hindi pa sinaming interest na 1.4 billion pesos. So itong mga commissioners na nandito, may malaking pananagutan ito sa batas, sa publiko, sa ating lahat. At dapat tignan po yan ng Kongreso, ng ating Pangulo. Kaya nga po tayo sumulat na sa Pangulo. At itong taon na ito, ay magkakaroon ng rate rebasing ang Meralco sa pagmamayari ni Manny Pangilinan. Ang tubig po, may rate rebasing din po ngayon. Ang Maynila at Manila Water, sinabi ko na yung figure. So pinag-uusapan po natin dito ay 100 bilyong piso ang papasin ni Juan at Maria. Maraming pong salamat.
Okay, on that note, we'd like to end this Saturday's edition of our news forum. And salamatan natin si Congressman Salvador Belaro for explaining mga legal implications ng martial law kaso ng Ilocos 6.
Ilocos
At
6.
kay Javellana, maraming salamat at we'll see you next Saturday.
Thank you very much po.
Thank you very much. God bless.
Ilocos, size. Chubby.